Welcome to another shave here on the Soap Thing Project. In this video, let's talk about a little tidbit fact about me that some of you might not know. I actually have quite the penchant for 1980s fragrances. Some of them that are in my collection include Antaeus from Chanel and Coros from Yves Saint Laurent, as well as the likes of Furio and One Man Show from Jacques Bogart. All great fragrances, but one of them that I do not have, which might surprise you, is Davidoff Cool Water. Don't ask me why, I just, for some reason, I never bothered to keep it around in my collection. I've had it off and on, but I don't currently have it and have not had it in a while. We'll talk about possibly why that might be here in a second, but in the meantime, we're going to do a Davidoff Cool Water type shave in the form of Master Soap Creations Nordic Croco. And let me pull up my iPhone cheat sheet and we'll talk about the scent of this soap. It is inspired by Davidoff Cool Water, of course. $14.99 for a full-size 6-ounce tub. I don't remember what I paid for the sample. Probably in the neighborhood of $2 to $3. I also don't remember where I got it, so you're gonna have to search around for that one. It's a tallow-based soap, and it's it's good stuff. We'll talk about the notes more during the shave. For the aftershave, I don't have Davidoff Cool Water in either the spray or aftershave form, so I'm gonna use the Antonio Puig Quorum, which I love this scent. I need to get the fragrance version of this. I got the aftershave version, which I cannot currently find. I think this was actually an NOS because it was a bottle that was pretty beat up when I got it. It was brand new, but it was in rough shape. Yeah, this is definitely an aftershave that is hard to acquire at the moment, but I love the way it smells. It's kind of an old stanky barbershop fougere, and I love it. For the razor, I've been going back to basics when it comes to razors, and that's where the Merkur 33C comes into play. This is basically the 34C, but with a thinner handle. Actually, one thing that's disappointing about it is that it is not a 2-piece razor. It is a 3-piece razor. I kind of wish they would have incorporated the 2-piece design from the 34C into the 33C. I think they certainly could have, but that is not what they did. The only thing that you kind of want to be careful of with this razor is that these stems have a tendency to pop off, and so if you really throttle this thing too tight or you drop it with it fully assembled, there's a chance that the stem could come off, and then you're screwed. So do be careful messing around with this, but if you're gentle with it, it should last you quite a long time. I do have a second use Persona Lab Blue blade in it. I picked up some of those from the shave supply. They came bundled just like this. The Persona Lab Blue blades don't come in identifiable wrapping. They just come in a big old box of 100 of them. So I got some of those from the shave supply. And the brush is going to be from Rudy. It's the Fake Horn 22mm Muhle. Kind of a design that I think would have been really popular in the 80s. Fake horn, fake tortoise shell, that sort of thing. Okay, let's do this. Alright, here is the soap in the bottom of the Pereira Shavery Unbreakable shaving bowl, and I've got my spray bottle. First 10 sprays, here we go. Alright, let's talk about this. So, Davidoff Cool Water, for those who might not know, was created by the same perfumer that created Creed Green Irish Tweed, which came earlier. Now the funny thing about Davidoff is before they released Cool Water, they had Xeno and a couple of other fragrances, but for the most part what they were known for is being a cigarette company. Some of you younger guys might be surprised to know that, but that was their legacy product up until Cool Water was cigarettes. In fact, when I was in London, there was not only several huge Davidoff tobacco shops for cigarettes and cigars, but there were actually cigarette advertisements for Davidoff just all over everywhere. You couldn't do that in the US. If you tried to put the Marlboro Man like on the front of a building or on a billboard, like those health nuts would kick your ass. So, yeah. Kind of an interesting difference I noticed when I was in London over the spring. Let's add some water to this. Why don't I currently own this as a fragrance or as an aftershave? Oh, man. For a couple of reasons. Probably because everybody knows what it is and everybody wears it, even today. Like, I went to work one day when I was still stationed at Scott about a year and a half ago. Actually, this was about 2 years ago when this happened. And somebody who was younger than me, I walked in the door and immediately they knew what it was because they wore it the whole time they were in high school. So it was one of those things where it's just like, I need to, go to something that less people are using, if you know what I mean. And the other reason is because it smells remarkably similar to Creed Green Irish Tweed. If anything, it has subtle differences in that it's a bit more aquatic smelling. It's a little fresher and less green, I think, than Green Irish Tweed. But it's almost close enough that if you have one, you don't need the other. They're so strikingly similar in scent. Obviously, if you smelled real... I always do that. I always hit the lights. Obviously, if you smell real Green Irish Tweed and then you smell Davidoff Cool Water, Green Irish Tweed is going to smell way the hell higher quality for obvious reasons. But as far as scent character, they're not much different. They're really not. Okay, 36 hours growth on the face today. I'm going to wet the face. Okay. Make sure the iPhone cheat sheet isn't going to fall asleep. And let's put this stuff on the face. Scent strength for the Master Soap Creations Nordic Croco, aka Davidoff Cool Water. This one is pretty loud. It's actually louder off the tub than it is once lathered. It actually reduces in scent strength once lathered, so I would say it goes from a flat out 5 out of 5 to a comfortable 4 out of 5, which is still pretty good. Okay, let's put it on. I don't know, after shaving with this, I might have to pick some up, because the cool thing about Cool Water is that it is a very loud fragrance that even through all the reformulations still has really good longevity and projection. But if you are kind of a fragrance snob like me, you tend to want to smell different than everybody else or be wearing a fragrance that people either haven't smelled in a while or maybe they've never smelled it. Okay, now Merkur 33C with a Persona Lab Blue blade in it. This razor is mild as hell, but the cool thing about that is you don't have to be very skilled to shave with it. You can cut yourself with any razor, but you're less likely to cut yourself or get razor burn with this. Unless you're really goofing off and just being an idiot. In which case Darwinism will do its thing. Wonderful razor though. With this razor and blade combination, I can take this razor and just sling it all around like a freaking katana. Okay, let's talk about the scent. So, the soap has green notes, mint, lavender, coriander, rosemary, geranium, neroli, jasmine, sandalwood, and cedarwood, musk, amber, and tobacco. So I can tell you what gives it the aquatic nature is the mint, neroli, the musk, and the amber. Kind of comes together and gives you this kind of aquatic sort of vibe. And it has a lot of quintessential 80s notes, like lavender and geranium, coriander, rosemary. Not many scents that are made today have those. It's got tobacco, sandalwood, cedarwood. Yeah. So what do I get out of this? Well, I get a lot of mint, musk and amber. I get a lot of that. Rosemary and coriander and neroli. The rest of it, I think, kind of starts to blend together to where I think I could kind of pick it out if I really tried, but it's a nice scent. Wonderfully pleasant scent, I will give it that. Okay, across the grain. I'm going to try not to get too cocky. Because if I hack myself up with a Merkur 33C, I may as well pack up and go home. Okay, let's go across the grain and against the grain over here. It's definitely an iconic scent. I think this came out in the late 80s. So it came out kind of after the era of all the barbershop fougères that were really common in the early and mid 80s. I guess why I like 80s fragrances so much is because that was basically the pinnacle of masculine fragrances. After that, everything started to get toned down, watered down. But back in the 80s, man, they would put everything in there. They weren't afraid to use jasmine and coriander and oak moss and castoreum and civet. Like, they used all sorts of stuff that really had a kind of masculine tinge to it. Today, nobody would have that kind of bravery to put that in a fragrance. Not to mention, I think a lot of it is now banned by IFRA. Like, I seem to remember people saying that Antaeus used to have real castoreum in it. Today, that obviously can't possibly be. So, I'm going to take this right off the wall. Oh, and that looks like a good one. I've been having some breakout bumps lately for reasons that I don't fully understand, but shaving kind of makes them turn red and it looks like nicks and cuts, but it really isn't. Okay, time for Quorum. I really need to get the fragrance version of this because it is a fougere that I can get behind. Lovely stuff. Here we go. Ooh, damn! Feels like $1,000,000. Not remarkably close. Nowhere near the same scent as Cool Water, but it puts me in the same time period, which is perfectly fine with me. So, my final thoughts on Master Soap Creations Nordic Croco. Is this something I could recommend for a purchase? Oh, absolutely. If you are looking for a quintessential 1980s fragrance, this is definitely good to go, without a doubt. I will say, though, if you already own Creed Green Irish Tweed, you're not missing much. You're really not. So I would say if you already own that, then this is not going to amount to much for you unless you have sentimental connections with it, in which case, do whatever you want. But I would say you're safe with one or the other, but both is a little redundant, in my personal opinion. Okay, that's the shave for today. Questions, comments, put them in the comment section of the video. Otherwise, this is Soap Thing telling you, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.